One of the main driving factors that I believe sways my decision on covering a game is admittedly quite dependent on whether I grew up with the game. A lot of the series I cover, such as Broken Sword, Croc, or Monkey Island, are all games that I grew up with. There is a nostalgic sense for me in playing these games, and while I try not to let them sway my opinion on the series, I also feel that perhaps there will always be a form of bias attached to those series. But that's something I'd like to change for this video. Exploring a video game that I have never played before. And for this one, I'd like to focus on a point and click adventure game that appears beloved by many people. Syberia. Coming on the later end of the prime of point and click adventure games, Syberia was released in 2002. Whereas games such as Escape from Monkey Island and Grim Fandango failed to gain substantial traction on the market for LucasArts, leading towards the death certificate of the LucasArts adventure game genre, Syberia was instead a commercial success and was received incredibly well. As a result, there's no surprise that a lot of people view this game favourably, and why this is one of the games recommended to me by mutuals who enjoy the adventure game genre. But as someone who hasn't played the series until nearly 2 decades after its release, I'd like to see how it holds up as a fan of games such as Broken Sword, Monkey Island, and others in the genre. Now, if you're perhaps curious about playing Syberia yourself, please note that this video is a reflection, and will detail spoilers of the game. However, if you did wish to discover the game for yourself, then it's readily available, having been released on multiple platforms such as Windows and the Nintendo Switch. But with that formality out of the way, let's begin with our reflection on Syberia. Syberia opens in a small French town of Valladolid, where the owner of an automaton factory has passed away, Anna Vorarlberg. Throughout the world are intricate clockwork automatons designed by the Vorarlberg factory. Unfortunately, Anna's death poses a problem for protagonist Kate Walker, who acts as the lawyer that was sent to close the deal, having come over to France to sign the contract before returning to New York. It's pretty hard to tell what Kate's job actually is, as she never seems to mention it in the game, but the clues are in there if you know just where to look.
In fact, I'm a lawyer. In fact, I'm a lawyer. My name is Kate Walker, and I'm a lawyer. My name is Kate Walker, and I'm an American lawyer. My name's Kate Walker. I'm a lawyer from... My name is Kate Walker. I'm a lawyer. Let me introduce myself. I'm Kate Walker. I'm a lawyer. I'm American. A lawyer. I am the legal representative for the Universal Toy Company. I'm responsible for...
So I understood, Miss Walker.
Being a point-and-click adventure game, the main gameplay consists of dialogue branches and puzzles. For dialogue branches, Kate has access to her notepad, which gives her topics of conversation at her disposal. She can also use items in her inventory to interact with the environment, and has access to a cell phone, which also can be used in puzzles. However, for the most part, the cell phone acts as a tool to continue the plot.
Yes, hello?
As Kate journeys around, she'll often receive calls from people back home, such as her mother, boss, friend, and her fiancé, Dan. Essentially, as you make progress through the game, Kate will receive phone calls which honestly don't really seem to have much purpose other just to let you know you're on the right track. However, as they progress, they do provide some insight to Kate's life back in New York, including her relationship with Dan, who acts pretty shitty to his partner.
But Katie, you can't do this to me. I mean, it's the Goldberg contract. There's millions of dollars on the line here. I don't know what they're feeding you in Europe, but don't you think it's time that you came home?
But my mission still isn't finished.
To hell with your mission. I don't know why you accepted it in the first place. If you just stuck to the middle of the road, then we wouldn't be in this mess.
In fact, after lashing out at her multiple times, Kate will eventually learn that he's been cheating on her with her best friend. Isn't that just the most damn thing you can think of? One thing about the puzzles of Syberia is that they're pretty accommodating. I would believe there are very little puzzles in the game that are obscenely hard. In fact, I would believe that when it came to a few select puzzles, I imagined them to be harder than they actually were by overthinking them. There were occasions where I would accidentally stumble across the solutions to the puzzles and then just not understand why I did it. With Anna being dead, we need to locate the notary for her estate. Valdeline isn't a very big place, but there are a few different places to check out, which makes it a bit hard to find out where the notary is. It doesn't look like there's any signs or such around the area, so perhaps we'll be able to ask the innkeeper for directions?
Could you tell me where I can find a notary here in Valdeline by the name of Alfalter?
We only have one notary here, and his house is easy to recognize. You can't miss it.
I'm sorry, did you completely not answer my question? I asked for directions to him, not for you to condescendingly tell me you can't miss it. Eventually I managed to notice a little automaton device outside of a door, and I used a letter of introduction on it. Now perhaps I'm just old-fashioned, but I feel that perhaps a doorbell might be a bit more sustainable. It turns out that the sale of the factory is not as straightforward as once imagined, since Anna has passed away, and we learn that our brother Hans is still alive and somewhere out there in the world, although it's unknown where, leading us on a journey to seek out the Vorarlberg heir. If that wasn't the worst of Kate's problem, I also discovered the game features some odd glitches with the game. Being that this is the future and I have two monitors, I accidentally found myself flicking off the screen into the other, which minimised the game. And when I relaunched the game, things went awry, such as when I reopened and there was a gigantic Kate Walker.
This enormous woman will devour us all!
Inside the mostly abandoned factory, Kate discovers a room that holds an automaton called Oscar, who doesn't have any legs, and requests that Kate provides him with some.
Father, give me legs.
Oscar acts as Kate's sidekick throughout the game, acting as the driver for a mysterious clockwork train kept at the factory. However, before they can depart, Kate needs to somehow understand engineering. Now, earlier I mentioned that the puzzles of Syberia were often ones I found myself overthinking. One such puzzle is the creation of Oscar's legs. The type of wood that is needed is found in a brochure along with a picture of Mr. Vorarlberg and his weird baby Hitler automaton. There are many different levers though. I believed that there would be a secret order to do this. There is not. All you need to do is flip a switch so it turns on. With Oscar now with legs, he's now ready to start heading off on a train to Syberia. The train continues to Barkstadt, where it breaks down. The station holds a lot of vibrant flora and birds as well as a pretty huge university. Now, as mentioned before, I found myself stumbling across solutions to puzzles without really understanding why. Perhaps the biggest example of this is in Barkstadt. A small bandstand can be seen in a courtyard, and using my superior point-and-click brain of clicking everything until it worked, I found myself inside, and after pulling a single lever, I also seemed to fix it. About an hour passed by until I realised why I did it. In asking rectors at the university if you can work for money, they ask you to fix the bandstand. what I fixed like an hour ago by accident, I guess. No sweat. Eventually, Kate continues her journey onwards, taking her to the Komkolgrad, I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, an abandoned mining complex where the train once again stops that just so happens to look vaguely Russian. I can't really put my finger on what it is. Fortunately, there is a winding machine located in one of the statues, meaning that this will be a very easy winding indeed. Unfortunately, what should be a brief stopover is ruined by a mysterious figure who sneaks onto the train, attacks and ties up Oscar, and steals his hands before absconding back into the factory, meaning we now need to find a way to sneak in and confront this thief. As you can imagine, this involves a little bit of running around and some more accidentally solving puzzles again without really understanding what I was doing, but managing to end the progress. Eventually, Kate manages to sneak her way inside and confronts the thief, who is the owner of the mining complex, Sergei, and he stole Oscar's automaton hands to play for his idol, Helena Romansky. In order to get them back, Kate has to find and convince Helena to come back to the mining complex and get her to sing for Sergei. Which is a pretty tall order, Kate. You don't know where she is. Why are you suddenly agreeing to such absurd promises? Especially when even her creepy stalker doesn't even know where she is. Okay, so now we just need to find out where the singer is. But how? Well, now, while I say that a lot of puzzles in this game are relatively hard, one of the more frustrating comes from this part of the game. Sergei allows you to enter a shrine to Helena, where you find documentation about the singer, as well as weird, creepy letters from Sergei. It's small wonder why she doesn't respond to you, man. Inside this room, there is nothing else to be seen, which concerned me. In a video game like this, you often pursue a flow of logic. The game leads you here and gives you two items, so it suffice to say that either of the objects should be how you proceed. The main thing I noticed in the makeshift scrapbook was Helena's friend, Frank Malkovich, who apparently lives in the United States, and that stuck out to me as Kate is from the United States. So I thought maybe she could phone someone to get us in touch with Frank Malkovich. So naturally I tried calling my office to see if perhaps they could get in touch. But no, nothing. Perhaps there was an old document showing him? Nothing. This completely eluded me for so long until I did the unthinkable. I looked up a hint website. The solution to the puzzle is to in fact call your mother. Now, even looking at that solution, I was perplexed on why that would be the solution and how I would even know the number for my mother in the first place. Until I realised that there were numbers saved on the phone. Now, until this time, I had been putting all the numbers in manually. At the start of the game, you have to phone up your office, and I thought I was solving a puzzle by using a letter that was given with the phone number on it. But it turns out I overthought it, and I could have just phoned up using the saved number. Now, I'd like to chalk this up to me being an idiot, but it also seems like a bit of a far-fetched reason. As it turns out, Kate's mother is dating our one and only Frank Malkovich, which she brought up in a seemingly pointless phone call earlier. Now, this might be where the game struggles a bit for me. I don't really make a habit of listening to my own parents over the phone, let alone my fictional protagonist's mother. And admittedly, due to time constraints, I actually stopped playing Syberia for about 2 weeks, which meant the conversation was completely out of my head at this point. Fortunately, the world famous singer just so happens to be located in Arrowbad, located not too far. Sergei allows you to travel up top, where Kate meets with an alcoholic pilot who also warns you about Sergei.
Borodin, that dumb traitor. I tell you, he's gone over to the enemy, over to the dark side. It's terrifying, the darkness. Eating out his brain. The jerk.
That's maybe going a bit far. He is a little eccentric, I'll grant you that. But when you live on your own, cut off from the world for so long...
Kate, he tied up your robot and stole his hand. He is not okay. He is the definition of not okay. In order to reach Helena, Kate needs to use the airship to travel. But it doesn't seem to work. The pilot makes a deal with Kate. If she helps him travel into space, he'll help her travel using the airship. Okay, Kate, you're going to have to accept that this is a little above what you can do as a lawyer.
Why not? I'll see what I can do for you.
After doing some tinkering that honestly seems a little too dangerous to be this easy, Kate finally managed to fulfill the pilot's wish to travel into space and probably kills him in the process. Yeah, that kills people, Kate. However, that's the least of our problem, as we're finally heading off to Arrowbad in the conveniently located airship that happens to be heading straight there. After sneaking past the clerk into a hotel, find another puzzle that stands out and is pretty peculiar. When attempting to reach Helena in the spa, Kate discovers a door with a 4-digit code and lever. Figuring that I would need to use Helena's code for the guest book, I tried that, but it didn't work. The game also seemed to register that this was Helena's code, as this was different from any other code I tried. There was even a code for Hans Vorarlberg, but unfortunately this didn't work either. Nothing did. I took a photo of the entire book and tried each code, with nothing working. In a huff, I walked away only to notice that a door I had tried to enter before was now randomly open and a conveniently dropped access card was left for the taking. This is something I really dislike in video games, where you need to click on random objects and then suddenly something will change. And unfortunately, Syberia is a bit guilty for this. An earlier example of this is seen in Valladolid, during one of my random excursions around the place. For the start of the game, the church gates appear to be locked until at some point they randomly appear to be unlocked without any prompt, at least as far as I'm aware. Nobody mentions, oh maybe the funeral's over or something, which caused a lot of confusion, and really it just feels like a cheap way of removing an aha solution to a puzzle, and in this case replacing it with a mocking easy out.
Let me in! Let me in!
Eventually managed to meet with Helena, who doesn't seem like she's able to sing anymore. Oh well, Kate, you tried your best, but even you can't pretend to be a doctor and help
That's
her.
amazing. That's just what we need. We're going to mix you up a cocktail.
In order to help cure Helena, Kate needs to make a drink she had at a hotel in France. And fortunately, by weird coincidence, that hotel's number is written in a book nearby. Funny how that worked. But unfortunately, the guy who made the drink no longer works there, but the guy on the phone tells you the ingredients to make the drink. In order to mix the drink, Kate needs to use a peculiar musical instrument bar, as opposed to just mixing it herself, I guess. This is an incredibly strange concept to use, and results in us pouring out several drinks for Helena that she despises.
No! I don't want that!
Eventually Kate manages to pour the drinks, but Helena still seems uncertain as she doesn't feel like she can reach the high note to break glass.
My God, what have I done? My voice has returned. Did you hear that, James? My voice has returned.
After a captivating performance by Helena, Sergei drops a cage down on the singer for some reason. As it turns out, the crazy guy who stole your robot's hands and sends creepy letters to celebrities isn't actually as nice of a guy as you make him out to be. In fact, he also starts destroying his own mind, and he even sends down a bomb to kill Kate. But yeah, as you said, Kate, he seems to be okay. Maybe we should hightail it out of here, but once again, Dan decides to call. And somehow this seems like the opportune moment for Kate and him to have a little chat. I mean, it's not like there's a maniac who just dropped a bomb to murder you. By all means, you go on ahead. Then again, Kate also doesn't seem bewildered by the giant arm that's appeared from her either, but yeah, whatever. Dan attempts to hide the fact that he's a total POS and cheated on Kate. And she calls him out on it, and finally, they break up.
Yes! Yes!
After a little bit of explosion and murder, Kate rides off back to Arrowbad with Helena, where she learns a package has arrived from her from an unknown sender. Heading outside, there's a man waiting. No way. It couldn't be. But it is. Here, Hans Vorarlberg sits out in the open casually, as if the quest to find him was absolutely nothing. He signs over the deed without any hesitation, but also offers Kate the opportunity to come with him on the train, but she declines, stating she has to return home. She heads to board the plane home, but either decides to turn her back on her life back in America, and runs to jump on the departing train, travelling in search of the land of Syberia, or more realistically, she's probably just realised that she's forgotten her luggage on the train. Wait, that was the end of the game? I was honestly surprised to see this is where the game ended. As you can see, the story is far from over. It looks like this could be considered the precursor for episodic adventure games. But with that, Kate's current adventure is over for a brief hiatus before it continues in Syberia 2. So in conclusion, what were my thoughts on Syberia as a fan of the genre, but having not played the games until nearly 20 years later? Well, in all honesty, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. The atmosphere of the game is incredible, and I loved seeing the visuals of the land as I travelled. I will admit, there are times that I felt confused as to the logic of the game. I mean, the puzzle seemed a bit too easy that you could stumble across the answer without even trying. And the ones that were difficult were more of a hassle than logical. And in the end, there's something magical about journeying through Syberia, witnessing the marvellous automaton creations created by a genius like Hans Vorarlberg. But hey, it doesn't take a genius to enjoy more content like this. All we gotta do is click on that subscribe button and like the video, while also potentially sharing with anyone who might be interested. That always goes a long way. But hey, until next time my friends, I shall catch you later. Bye bye.